Oh my goodness. First of all, I'm out of breath because y'all do not even know how many times I had to go back and forth to see myself on this camera and figure out where to sit to film this video. Okay, so let me gather myself. Give me 2 minutes because this is going to be a good one. You don't want to miss it, okay? Oh my God. I'm drinking water. Okay, today on the Genuine Life podcast, we are talking about how you can start your very own podcast. Okay, y'all know I don't like to complicate things. I'm gonna keep this very simple for you, and I am linking every single item that I personally use and have vetted, because y'all also know I obsess over everything. I spent countless hours researching some of the best equipment before I started my very own podcast. And so I'll be linking everything that I personally use for you in my Amazon storefront. But I'll also be linking items that, if you're on a budget, this will still be able to, you'll still be able to use these items as well. And if you have a little bit more money that you could play with, these are items that I wish I could buy right now. And so I will link everything for you, but I'm so excited to get into this episode today because it's time for your voice to be heard, friend. Okay? So go on and grab that pen, grab your paper, and let's get right on into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Genuine Life podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Nicole, and I'm super excited to be here with you yet again on another day today. Today is really exciting for me because I've gotten a lot of questions about how to start a podcast. And as you all know, I've been giving this a go. While it may not have been consistently, I have been giving this a go for a little over 4 years now and absolutely love podcasting. It has given me such a beautiful space to be able to just voice, my life and share things with you all, and just to be able to communicate my feelings and, encourage you as well, and hopefully inspire you as well. So I love podcasting. I love what it can do. And the fact that you all have totally different perspectives of how you want to approach your podcast is what makes this so exciting. Now, a couple of things I do want to share with you before we go into this, just because I'm not into wasting time. I am a solo podcaster. So for me, the equipment that I use is extremely minimal, right? I don't have to worry too much about others. If I do have guests on the show, typically it's done via a video format, something like StreamYard. So for me, I keep everything very simple. So if you are someone who is thinking about starting a podcast with like a friend or maybe like 4 or 5 people, the equipment that I'm showing you today, it can actually record up to 4 microphones. So if you're going anywhere beyond 4 people, this may not be the best episode for you. So that's first. The other thing that I want to share with you is my show is not called The Genuine Life for no reason. Okay. So I am very minimal when it comes to editing. I keep things very simple. And so I will talk to you a little bit about everything that I use as well, but I am approaching this episode as if you already have figured out what your niche is, what your approach is going to be. So I'm not going to be talking about any of that because, to be quite honest with you, I have never had a strategy with this podcast. I literally just wanted to have a safe space for me to be able to communicate my thoughts. I never had an idea of who I was talking to. The audience is positive souls and people who just want to feel good and be encouraged and be inspired and do good in the world, right? So if you fit that category, then this podcast is for you. I've always labeled my podcast as a lifestyle audio series. So it's a mixture of personal stories mixed with opportunities for me to educate and inspire. So I am assuming that you have already done that homework. So we right now are getting to the nitty gritty of what equipment you're going to need. Okay. So the very first thing that we want to talk about is filming. Okay. Now this is new for me. I have not and did not have any intention of putting my podcast into video. So I want to be very clear. You do not have to do that if you do not want to. And to be quite honest with you, I am still contemplating whether or not I want to keep this going. One of the things that I love the most about podcasting when I first started was that I was able to podcast right from the bed, right? I would have my pajamas on, I would have the recorder, my mic, and I didn't have to get dressed. I didn't have to show up the tool that was used was my voice. And so for me, I love that part about it. I didn't want to be on camera. I'm getting used to it, still contemplating it, but that's a whole nother story. So I just want to throw that out there. Please don't feel any pressure to show up on camera, because this is another reason why, for me, I know, don't be surprised, but I am what is called an ambivert, right? So typically I lean more toward being an introvert, but if I'm in the right setting, then I can appear to be an extrovert. And somehow through creative channels, I can look like an extrovert as well. And so for me, it was a great feeling to be able to be creative, and safe in like my little hermit shell, because I didn't have to be seen on camera, but I could still get my thoughts across. So if you are someone who is an introvert, if you are someone who really doesn't want to show up on camera, I just want to encourage you, you can still have a podcast, okay? My show did not ever see a camera until 2024. And we're only 3 episodes in. So just want to throw that out there, okay? But if you do decide that you want to be on camera, just know that the past 3 episodes, this one included, that you're watching right now, have all been filmed on my iPhone 15, okay? I started filming on a Canon R8, and while I love that camera, the battery just wasn't lasting as long as I needed it to, and it would just die like in the middle of my podcast episode. So I switched. One day I was so frustrated, just switched over to my iPhone, and it's been working fine. It is very clear. The thing that you have to remember if you decide to use your iPhone is just, I personally use 4K 24 frames per second, and clean that lens, okay? You want to use the back of your camera, never the front, so go always the back. I am currently using a mirror behind my phone so that I can just see myself, and I'm using my iPhone on a regular little stand, I'll insert a clip here for you so you can see the setup. It's very janky, okay? Like, I'm trying to tell you, I keep it very simple here. I just make sure that my bedroom is clean, or whatever you see behind me is clean, and that's it. Okay, don't overcomplicate this, friend. Please get you a little phone stand, put your phone in there, clean your lens, sit down, and get to talking. Okay. The next thing that I also use, you're going to see another clip here if you're watching this on YouTube, is a light. So light is super, super important. I do try to film if you are keep in mind, this is if you're putting this on YouTube. If you are filming your podcast, you want to make sure that you have some sort of natural light, which is why I'm sitting in front of a window with the, blinds open, but I also have a light. This light I use for all of my content as well as for filming. It just adds some more brightness into the room, and light is super, super, super important. Okay, so I'll link that for you too. This one I love because it folds down, it travels with me. You can actually unhook the top and just carry just the light itself. So it's super good. It's affordable. It comes in a traveling case, and it came as a 2-piece, not just one light. 2 of them came in there. So that was really good. Okay. So I wanted to get that part out of the way, because this is really those 2 items were key if you decide that you want to film your podcast. Okay. Now, if you're like me and you wanted to start out just audio only, come on in the room. Okay. I hope y'all have your pens and papers, because we're going to get down and dirty. All right. So let's talk about equipment. Now, the only thing that you are going to need is a recorder, a mic, a laptop, and something to record. So we already covered what you're going to be recording on. Next up is your microphone, okay? If you don't purchase anything else, this right here is what you want to focus on, okay? And why am I qualified to tell you this? I'm going to tell you why. Because when I used to live in Seattle and I had this bright idea to start the Genuine Life podcast, I was hell-bent on making sure that my sound was good. So initially, I actually started renting out time with a studio in Seattle. I can't remember their name. They were so amazing. But he actually taught me how to make sure that my sound was good. And he also walked me through what made a mic a good mic. And so I ended up going with the Shure SM58. I'll have it linked for you. And don't give me the line about all the like technical terms. All that I know is that it does a great job with isolating your voice and silencing all the other sounds. So there's a lot going on around me. Like I said, I'm sitting by a window. There are cars and trucks passing by, but the only thing that you're probably hearing right now is my voice. And so it is super, super, super important for you to invest in a good microphone. I'm pretty sure this one cost me about $100, which is not expensive when you think about it. And of course, you can spend more money on mics, but this one has served me very well. I've had it for 4 years. Please don't mind this fake these little studs on here. The one you get does not have this, okay? Your girl thought she could be crafty one weekend and bling out her mic, and I got tired. So just, your mic will not look like this, just you know. But and then you want to have a mic cover. So this little kind of muffle ball here on top, wind cover, if you will, also helps with the p, p, p and the t, 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 the, okay, sounds. I am personally not someone who likes a lot of like noise. Like even sometimes when I listen back to my podcast, the wet noise, if you know what I mean, like when I'm talking, drives me nuts. It's just a me thing. So this helps with that. This also is a good mic because you don't have to be immediately on it, right? You see, I have about a few inches away, close to maybe, I would say I'm about 8 to 10 inches away from the microphone. That is super important as well because your voice will still carry and your voice will still be heard. So again, if you don't invest in anything else that I talk about today, this right here is absolutely what you want to make sure you get, okay? And with that, you're gonna need a microphone stand. So I have since graduated. I used to have a tabletop microphone stand because again, I used to podcast from the bed. But now that I am recording my podcast, I did go out and get like a T-stand. And so this is just like a setup as if I were a singer, right? It sits, it adjusts, it folds. I don't want to move it around too much right now, but you want to go ahead and get you a T-stand so that your hands can be free. And this is even if you are not recording your podcast, right? You just want to have your hands to be free so that if you are pulling up notes, you can do that while still talking. So get yourself something where you could be hands free. Okay. So far we've covered camera equipment. We've covered lighting, your sound. You want a good mic, your mic stand. I also wanted to just throw in a quick bonus here. So I also have the DJI mics. They come I got the one that's like the 2-pack in the receiver. These are excellent to use as well. So if you didn't think that maybe it was going to be yourself and someone else recording with you, this may not be a bad idea to pick up one of these. You get 2 of them. They charge very quickly. The sound is incredible. And it's Bluetooth. So it'll connect, directly to whatever you plan on recording with. If you choose to be on YouTube and if you choose not to be, it still works. The sound is amazing. It's small, it's compact. And if you decide to take your podcast on the road, maybe you're traveling and you want to still make sure you get an episode in, this could be amazing as well for you to travel with. So I just wanted to throw this in there. It also comes with a traveling case, which I love. And it also comes with, the little wind thing. So just wanted to give you some more options. But if you are recording from home and, you don't really want to invest in anything like this right now, you need one mic and a T-stand. Okay? Next up, how are you going to record this? So there are a couple of ways that you can do it. The first is, again, your good old iPhone, okay? You can actually pull up your audio app on the phone, click record, and record the entire episode right from there. And if you have one of those Bluetooth mics, you plug it right into the camera, talk right into it, and there's your audio, okay? So again, very simple setup. It doesn't have to be super deep at all. Okay, keep it simple. I personally decided to go out and purchase my own recorder. You'll see it kind of pop up here. It is the Zoom H6 recorder. Now, I did a lot of YouTubing. I graduated from YouTube University for this. And based off of what I heard and seen a lot of journalists use, this just seemed to be the best option for me. And the best part about it is you can plug up to 4 microphones into this particular recorder. And so what makes that great is if I had guests come on the show, or if I was someplace where, someone was physically with me and it wasn't going to be a virtual interview, this was going to be perfect. You can plug up your microphone, sit it right in the middle of the table, and everyone's voice will be recorded. The other beautiful thing about it is when you extract the audio, you'll get 4 different files. So you don't have to worry about, one file and trying to figure out, Janice's voice, Jen's voice, Susie's voice. You can literally label each file, and then when you do your editing, it's so easy. It's so easy. So that's why I went with it. It is a little bit pricey, but again, I've had it for 4 years. No problems with it. The only con to it that I will tell you is that it runs on battery. So I keep a very large box of batteries with me. The battery life I could probably get anywhere from, I would say, 3 to 4 episodes recorded before I would need to replace the batteries. So again, if that's not your thing, if you prefer something that kind of charges on the go, this may not be the best option for you. It doesn't bother me at all. Again, I just keep batteries on hand. So keep that in mind if you decide to go with this recorder. But again, in the link that I'll be sharing with you all, every single thing that you need will be in that link. So you don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, did she link this properly for me? Of course I did. Okay. Now, Jennifer, how do I get the sound from the mic to the recorder? I'm glad you asked. You're going to need something, again, y'all, see, this is why I've done the research, but I'm not like hella technical. Okay. So don't get upset with me if I don't know the names, okay? Keeping it genuine, okay? So this thing right here, it's this little cord. It's very long, which is why I have a clip on it. It actually clips into the microphone, the bottom of the mic, and directly into your recorder. So the setup looks like this, okay? It's so simple. But you hook it up from your mic right into your recorder here. Okay. And that is it. Like literally, that's it. And so you just talk into it, you do what you need to do, and you can physically start to see your sound. So one thing, just a little bonus tip that I'll tell you, once you start recording, if you have a physical recorder, the sound engineer that I sat with used to tell me, in order to make sure that your sound is really good and translates well to the listener, you always want to make sure that green line is hitting anywhere between 10 and 12 decibels. Okay. It's just like that perfect volume sound. And so that is actually what I make sure it always is. So just keep that in mind. I don't know the science behind it. I just know that someone who graduated with a degree told me that, and it worked. Okay. My sound always sounds great. I'm always happy with it. So keep that in mind as well. Okay. So just a quick recap. You're going to need something to record with if you want to put your podcast onto YouTube. I would suggest getting some kind of lighting as well if you decide to film. If you want to just be audio only, you can record your audio either on your phone or you can purchase an actual recorder. You're going to need a microphone, a mic stand, and now you're going to need something to edit your podcast with, okay? Now, of course, at this point, you're going to need a laptop or something. I went with the MacBook. I have the MacBook Air that just came out not too long ago. I love her. The only gripe that I have with it, and the gentleman at the Apple store did tell me this, is the fingerprints for the midnight blue. But I was so hell-bent on getting this blue, I didn't care, but you'll see it in the footage. You'll get some fingerprints. So just keep that in mind. I don't know if you care about it or not, but the MacBook is perfect for it. The MacBook Air. I wanted the Pro, but we on a budget. So the MacBook Air serves perfectly. It holds all the data. It edits perfectly, and I have absolutely no issues with it at all, with editing my podcast. So that is a perfect tool. I have personally never used like a Microsoft product, but I imagine it's just as simple. And we're going to talk about what editing software I use here shortly. So whatever you use to edit your content with is what I would use to edit your podcast. Okay. Now, for me, again, I keep things very simple over here. So I actually edit my podcast right in CapCut. And so I upload the audio file directly from my Zoom recorder. It goes right into my folder onto my laptop. And then I upload that right into CapCut and cut out any like or dead space. Super, super important. You want to make sure you do that. Another software that I used to use, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just use CapCut now because I'm also doing video, so I could do both at the same time. But another platform that you can use if you are strictly going audio is Audacity. It is a free software. It is so simple to use, and I mean that. Like, y'all, I'm telling you, everything I've learned has come straight off YouTube or just trial and error, and it took me less than a day to learn how to use Audacity. And you're just editing your podcast. One little bonus tip I do want to share with you, just kind of going off to the left here. When you start recording your podcast, if you mess up at any point, or maybe you don't like something that you said, or maybe you stutter a little bit and you're going to want to edit that out, do not stop recording. Okay? Keep going, because you can edit it out. And so say what you need to say and then pause. Count to 3. And then repeat yourself, because when you go back to edit, you're going to see that dead space where you paused, and then you'll know what to cut out. So do not stop. I know when I first started, there was a lot of like, oh my gosh, I hate how I sound. Why did I say that? What am I doing? Do not stop. Just keep recording, go back and edit. And eventually your editing is going to take you less than 5 minutes. I can promise you that. Okay. All right, so where are you going to put this podcast? You got to upload it somewhere. And right now, the best place that is completely free is Spotify for podcasters, formerly known as Anchor. I used to have my podcast on Anchor until Spotify bought them out, and it is just amazing. It's so easy. And again, y'all, I keep saying everything is easy because it is. And I don't want you to hinder yourself from starting because you think this is complicated. Is not. Okay. So you want to go on Spotify. I think I'll show you the screenshot. It's podcasters.spotify.com. You'll sign up for a free account. If you do have a Spotify account, you can sign up and link your podcast account from there, and they will distribute your podcast not only on Spotify, but on every platform. So Apple, Google, and you'll also get an RSS feed. So wherever people listen to podcasts, your podcast will show up. And it's so great to use because it'll track your listeners, your downloads, and you can also start to earn money from there as well, which is a whole nother beast. So I just want to recap, okay? Because I feel like I've thrown a lot of information at you. And again, this is one of many episodes that I can do. So if you're interested in learning, like the nuances, how do you script out an episode? How do you record? How do I like physically record? What my process is for editing? I'm happy to break all that down for you. But for today, I really just wanted to talk about the equipment that you're going to need. And I want you to get started. Right? I just want you to get started because it's too easy for you not to. Okay? So for my people who are putting their podcast onto YouTube, you want to go ahead and figure out what you're recording on. You can record on your cell phone, which is what I've been doing, which you're watching right now. You can record on like a mirrorless camera. I've had a Canon R8. I also have the DJI Pocket 3. You can record on that. Anything at all, you can record. Okay? Just record. I would also suggest if you're putting your podcast on YouTube, I would suggest getting some kind of lighting as well. So right now I have a very simple one. It goes from warm to cool. It's a great product. But if you cannot afford a light right now, just sit by a window. Okay, open up the blinds, try to record when the sunlight is the softest, whether that's kind of like early morning or toward the end of the day. But you want to make sure that you have some nice soft light coming in, good natural light, and you're good to go. Okay, so right now we're almost free because everybody has a phone and now you're at natural sunlight. The only thing I've suggest that you do, and this is for both my people who are putting it on video and for those of you who are just going straight audio, please invest in a good microphone, okay? There are a lot of people out there talking about a certain brand. I personally don't care for it. This is the one. This is the one that singers use when they're performing on stage, okay? This is the one that I went with. It's the Shure SM58, and it is amazing, okay? But I know that there's like Blue Yeti out there that has a pretty good reputation. I personally never used them, so I can't speak to it, but everyone that I know that has it has loved it. I've also suggested using the DJI mic as well. If you are someone who's going to be on the go with your podcast, this is a great option as well. And then you're going to need a mic stand. Okay, so just grab you one off Amazon. This one has an adjustable neck. You can also get one that you can screw onto a table, or you can get a straight up tabletop mic stand. Okay, but just get you one so that your hands are free and allow you to be, talk with your hands. All right, the next thing you're going to need is something to record it with, your sound. So again, you can do record your sound on your phone if you'd like. You can record everything on your phone. I'm sorry. You can record your podcast on your phone. I would not suggest using the audio from your camera, okay? Because it just may not sound very clear, right? And so the point is making your voice sound very isolated and radio-like, if that makes sense. And you're just not going to get that with the distance that you're going to be from your phone. And then you just want very clear audio. So you want to get you a good recorder. And if you are using your phone, make sure you're using a microphone, okay? But the recorder that I decided to go with was a Zoom H6 recorder. It has been with me for 4 years. I've vetted it. I've dropped it. I've traveled with it. I love it. Okay, it comes with a traveling case as well. So that is just the option that I decided to go with. You're going to need something to edit your podcast on. So you want to go ahead and get yourself a laptop or some kind of device. I know like Microsoft Surface or something like that. And then you're going to need some kind of software to edit your podcast on. So I personally have no problem using CapCut. I love it. I actually have CapCut Pro to allow for some of those pro-like features. So that's been perfect for me to use. But you can also use a software that I used to use called Audacity. It is free and very simple to use. It's for audio. But I do know a few people who use GarageBand as well, okay? But I use CapCut, and I would suggest using Audacity if you don't want to use CapCut. And then you're going to need a host for your podcast, and I would suggest using Spotify for podcasters, formerly known as Anchor. Okay? That's it, friend. You can get all of this equipment on Amazon. You can download all the software today, and I promise you, if you get serious, you can have your podcast up and running by the weekend. Okay? It really is that simple. Now, another thing before I let you go, I do want to just share with you, I personally do not script my episodes. I don't want to say wing it, but I speak from my heart, so I don't script anything. I'm very comfortable now on the podcast. So for me, it just, I don't know. Y'all know me by now. So if I mess up, I mess up. It's just not a big deal. So if you are someone who is interested in possibly, writing out an outline, formulating your podcast, understanding what you want to talk about, staying on track for the day, there are great free software options for you to use. One of them being Milanote is a great one to use. You can also track your projects in there. And they actually have podcast templates for you to use that I love. And there's also a software called Craft. And they're wonderful as well for keeping track of any documents, typing out episodes, and just taking down any notes. I've also been known to use good old Google Docs, right? Just to get my notes or thoughts together, rather, any kind of ideas that I want to speak about, just tracking it there, or just opening up your phone and using notes. And I'm telling you this because I don't want you to overcomplicate this. I keep saying it. It's very simple, and you have everything that you need already, okay? Besides the equipment, okay? So let me know if this was helpful. These items will get you started right away. Okay, I was able to get my podcast up and running in a weekend, and you can do the same. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. I again will have a link for all of everything that I talked about today, as well as items for those of you who may find yourself on a budget, or for those of you who can spend a little change. I'll put everything that I have personally used, things that I want to buy when, I come out of this budget phase in my life. And then the things that I used when I was on, money was really, really tight. So I want you to get your voice out there. I want you to get your thoughts out there. This stuff is super, super easy. It does not have to be intimidating. It is fun to do. And I'm looking forward to hearing about your podcast. Let me know if you want to, dig a little bit deeper. I'm happy to start a series on this and walk you through how to start your very own podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you here next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but I'll see you next week. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and I'll see you next time on the Genuine Life Podcast.